Hi, I'm Steve and welcome to my kitchen. Do you have trouble shaping your rolls? Don't fight it. You can use Bakeware to shape your rolls for you. Like these. Let me show you how I did it. I'll be using 3 cups bread flour, 1½ teaspoons salt, 1/4 teaspoon instant yeast, and 12 ounces cool tap water. I set up my workspace with my utensils and my ingredients. I'm going to start with the dry ingredients. 3 cups bread flour. I use the scoop and shake method for measuring flour. This recipe is very forgiving and you don't have to be exact. I highly recommend using bread flour. It was specifically designed for bread making. Next, 1½ teaspoons salt. I use everyday table salt. 1/4 teaspoon instant yeast, sometimes referred to as bread machine yeast. Before we add the wet ingredients, I want to mix the dry ingredients to ensure that the salt and yeast are evenly distributed throughout the flour. Now the wet ingredients. 12 ounces cool tap water. Next, we'll combine the wet and dry ingredients. Note, I'm drawing the flour from the sides of the bowl before stirring the middle. It hydrates the flour faster, which reduces the mixing time. And I'll scrape the sides of the bowl to get the remaining flour into the dough. I like to use the handle end of a plastic spoon. It's a lot like a dough hook. Can you see how the dough doesn't stick? It makes it a lot easier to manipulate the dough. I could stop right here, but I like to stir until the dough wants to stick to the bowl. And we're done. Did you see how easy that was? No mixer, no kneading, no yeast proofing. All we need to do now is cover the bowl with plastic wrap, leave it on the counter to proof overnight, and Mother Nature will do the kneading for us. I'll see you in the morning. No-knead dough should be proofed for 8 to 24 hours. The dough has proofed overnight and more than doubled in size. It's time to fold, shape, and proof the dough a second time. Bakers have known for years that bread benefits from long proofing times. The no-knead method takes advantage of this principle. It uses a minimum amount of yeast and long proofing times to develop flavor. Meanwhile, the long proofing times replaces the arduous task of kneading. Mother Nature does the kneading for you. I set up my workspace with the dough off to the left, flour and utensils off to the right, along with 6 small pans and no-stick spray. I'll start by spraying the pans with no-stick spray. And we're ready to start. Next, I'll dust the workspace with flour and scrape the dough out of the bowl. Note the stringy nature of the dough. That tells us Mother Nature has done her job. With floured hands, I'm going to lightly pat the dough to flatten. Then, using a plastic bowl scraper, I'll fold the dough over onto itself, forming a ball. Note how the plastic bowl scraper scrapes the flour off the work surface onto the dough, coating the dough ball, which helps me handle the sticky dough. I'm going to cut the dough in half, then cut each half into thirds. I'm going to shape a little, then drop each roll into a pan. Last step. I'm going to use a little flour in my knuckles to press each roll to flatten. Then, as the dough rises, the pan will give each roll its final shape. And they're ready to proof. I've placed the dough in the pans and covered them with a flour sectile to proof. Before I leave the kitchen, I'll prep the oven. I've positioned the rack in the middle of the oven. I do it in advance so I don't forget. I'm going to proof the dough for an hour and a half, and I want to preheat the oven, so I'm setting the timer for an hour and 15 minutes. Dough should be proofed for 1 to 2 hours, and the oven should be preheated. It's been an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm setting the oven to 350 degrees, and I'll reset the timer for an additional 15 minutes. The rolls have proofed and doubled in size. I put the rolls in the oven and I set the timer for 20 minutes. It's been 20 minutes. The rolls are ready. Let's take a look. Now that was easy. The pans did an excellent job of shaping the rolls for us. More importantly, the rolls are delicious. Let me show you. Look at the crumb. This is a roll you would be proud to serve your family and friends. If you like this recipe, I would like to introduce you to my latest cookbook. This cookbook focuses on rolls. It takes the world's easiest bread recipe and discusses how technique and bakeware can be used to shape dinner rolls, sandwich rolls, demi-loaves, and more. One recipe, dozens of rolls. It's the only cookbook of its kind. It will expand your world of roll making, stimulate your imagination, and please your palate. Thanks for watching.